You think sitting over there makes you right? You think it makes you better?
Dignify me with an answer?
You're no righteous
Am I
man.
so pathetic that you can't even acknowledge my existence?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready. You can send her in. Won't you sit down? Please, Miss Reed, have a seat.
Do I know you?
No, but I am familiar with you. Eleanor Reed, 28 years of age, originally from Montreal, Quebec. Your mother, Laura, was a school teacher. Your father, Edward, served the military for 20 years, retired, suffered a fatal heart attack at age 54. You left home when you were 15 years old and became addicted to drugs, most notably methamphetamines. Incarcerated 4 times for petty larceny, 3 times for possession of narcotics and disorderly conduct, more times than the warrant mentioned. Dropped out of school when you were 15. Test scores showed a potential of elevated intelligence. Aptitude tests indicated a propensity towards literature and economics.
And why am I here?
We'll get to that. Your employment history, spotty at best, half dozen jobs over as many years, none more than 8 months. Please sit down.
Why?
Because this is how we do things. This is a conversation.
It is? Because you seem to be the only one doing all the talking.
You'll have plenty of time to talk, I promise. Excellent, then. We can continue.
Continue what?
This is your life in this file, Eleanor. This is the summation of your existence. Every character assessment, every standardized test, every opinion, every psychological evaluation, every law ever broken. I've read every word ever written about you, and do you know what I've found? A life of unfulfilled potential. Disappointment, opportunity squandered. Our society is fragile, Eleanor. It's held together by a fabric which you and I both exist. We exist because we have entered into a basic agreement, a contract, if you will. We will live within the limits of the law, and we will do everything in our power to remain a productive and functioning member of society. You have not lived up to these terms.
I'm not sure what that is. I don't even know why I was being brought here, so.
You're here because you have been deemed unproductive.
By who? You said I've been deemed unproductive by whom?
Your sentence was handed down by a council of appointed officials. As for who's responsible, I would say that falls squarely upon your shoulders.
And what does that mean? Unproductive.
It means that after numerous attempts to find a livable and workable role in this society, that you have shown a chronic inability to work within the system. The duty of every citizen is to remain productive. If you cannot find some measure of productivity, you wind up here.
You talk like a textbook. Look, I've been here for 90 days, nobody said a word to me, and I still don't know what I'm doing here.
These decisions take time. I assure you that it was not taken lightly.
What's your name?
It's irrelevant.
Relevant. To who?
Irrelevant to the process.
Because that's all this is to you. It's a formality.
No, it's not.
Then tell me your name.
You have been brought here so that you can be made aware of your sentence.
And you're doing a poor job because I don't know what I'm doing here.
I told you that you have been deemed unproductive.
And I told you that I don't know what that means.
It means you've been sentenced to death.
not a criminal. I never killed anyone. I don't. Look, man, I'm sure this is a mistake. It's a clerical error, obviously.
I assure you it's not.
I need to talk to someone.
Anything that needs to be discussed will be covered by me.
No, I want to talk to my lawyer, not you.
Legal counsel has been made aware of your sentence. He was present at the trial.
He was. And I want to talk to my sister.
You'll be given time for final correspondence at the end of this.
This isn't right, man. You can't keep me in here. I have rights. I want out of here. I want to speak to whoever's in charge. I don't want to deal with you.
That's not possible.
I'm not supposed to be in here. I haven't done anything wrong.
4 counts of larceny, 3 counts of possession of narcotics.
And for that, I deserve to die.
You were given a gift.
Yeah. And I made a mistake.
Mistakes. Plural. And now you must suffer the consequences for those actions. I would assume that you may have some people that you'd like to share some thoughts with. It's my job to give you ample time to put those thoughts into writing and deliver them to whoever you wish. Is there someone you wish to send a letter to? Someone you were intimate with? A friend? You mentioned you had a sister.
I don't know.
We can move on to something else if you'd like, if you need more time to compose yourself.
How's this happening?
I realize the difficulty of your situation.
Do you?
It happens every day. Choices are made, decisions are rendered. But without them, our society would crumble.
And I never hurt anyone, so...
You never helped anyone either.
That's not true.
You stole medication from a hospital you worked at. Medication intended for the sick and suffering.
Yeah. I had a problem.
That you were treated for. Twice. Second chances, third chances. How many would it have taken, Eleanor? You were given numerous warnings, weren't you? Every time you were arrested, every time you completed rehabilitation, you were told this day would come.
Never thought it would come to this.
No one ever does. Even when the answer is so painfully clear.
What's your name?
I told you that doesn't matter.
Fuck you.
Hey, sit down. Ms. Reed! Ms. Reed!
Hello?
You need to stop this now!
Ouvrez la porte, je veux pas être pris ici avec ce gars-là, je vais pas mourir ici!
Sit down now! You showed no dignity in life. Why should your death be any different? All right, let's move on to something else. Would you be interested in donating genetic material for scientific research? There are a number of medical organizations that would benefit from your donation. There is some paperwork to fill out, consent forms and the like.
Why?
Why?
Why would I want to do that?
Well, there are a number of reasons. Possibility of saving someone's life immediately springs to mind.
You think I give a damn about anybody's life but my own right now?
I don't. You think I'm judging you?
Yes.
You believe the system to be unfair? You see no value in any of this.
No.
Which is exactly why we need to be having this conversation. This process, this method exists for a reason. And no one needs to understand that more than you. More than anyone else, you need to understand why. Your death will not be for nothing. In death, you get to make a difference. You get to serve a purpose. In death, you will serve this society something you never could in life.
And why should I care?
Because you should be at peace with it. And once you allow yourself to be a part of something greater than yourself, you will find peace.
That's what this is.
It is.
And you believe in all of that.
I do.
Then what's your contribution? What are you giving up for this great society?
I believe that order requires sacrifice.
That's easy to say where you're sitting.
I assure you it isn't.
This is your job.
It is my job.
This is what you do.
It is what I do.
Wow. You're not married? You don't have a ring. You don't need to answer.
Ms. Reed,
Please call me Eleanor. If you're the last person I'm gonna talk to, it might as well be on a first-name basis, don't you think?
fine then. Eleanor.
So aren't you married?
This job requires some level of discretion.
Rules. Pointless rules.
There's nothing pointless about them.
Oh, and what have they ever done for you?
They have provided me with a world without need to suffering. Where the citizens live in peace and they all have value.
How much is yours worth?
I don't understand the question.
Of course you don't. Because we live in paradise, right? This utopia that you created, and yet what have you done with this gift? You have no wife, no family, then you're no better than me.
We all have our roles. And some of them have unintended consequences. That is why this is not a paradise. Paradise is a myth, where everyone's dreams are fulfilled. That is not where we live, but it is as close as we've ever been. And I am willing to suffer to see it survive.
Then why aren't you the one walking through that door?
Because I never took it for granted.
But you admit it, you have suffered.
What?
You said you'd suffered.
I said willing to suffer.
What have you sacrificed?
Again, Eleanor, this is not about me.
It's obviously about me, but you want me to walk through that door, so you're gonna
No.
have to.
It's about you needing to understand why you have to walk through that door and being at peace with it.
And you need to answer some of my questions. Aren't you married?
I don't know.
You don't know.
No.
Have you ever met the right woman?
No, I met the right woman.
But you couldn't make it work.
No,
Did you try?
I did.
Did you really try?
I think so.
You don't sound convinced.
I don't.
Why didn't it work?
Why does this matter to you?
Because, man, I just want to know something about you. And you keep avoiding all my questions.
I don't know. Why does any relationship fail?
Because you keep answering a question with a question. That's what you do, right? You evade, you pacify, you diffuse. You never take anything head on.
There's some truth there.
So why didn't it work? I know. She probably left you. And you didn't offer as much as a word.
Why do you say that?
Because that's what you do. You avoid confrontation. That's your gift, isn't it? When you yelled at me earlier, how did it feel?
I apologize for that. I There's no reason to lose control.
It felt right, didn't it? You liked it.
No, it didn't.
Yes. You know why? Because it was sincere and it was honest and I saw you.
And that's important to you.
Jesus. I would think that would matter to everyone, yes.
He does. You talk of honesty as if it's a commodity.
Isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's just funny to hear it coming from someone in your position.
My position? What position is that?
You have spent your whole life defying authority, circumventing the truth. And now you're being condemned for it.
Yes.
And yet you still believe in it.
Yes, because this world we live in, this thing that you created, this is not the truth.
No?
No, it's not. I mean, it's what we've been forced to become. You, me, it's a product of greed and corruption, and it's convenient, but it's most certainly not the truth.
And what is?
I don't know. All I know is that I'm not part of the problem like you would have me believe I am. I'm not the poison of this world.
What is the poison?
Rapists, murderers.
Violent criminals.
Yes.
Which is why violent offenders are dealt with such severity. As I'm sure you're aware, those crimes are dealt with immediately. What you and I are talking about is something completely different. Atrophy. There will always be those who cannot live within the confines of our society, those who lash out and try and tear down everything that we've created. And they will be dealt with swiftly. But what ruins the foundation of any great society? It's rot.
You really believe this? You think this is right?
I think it's necessary.
I get it. That's what needs to happen to maintain your perfect world.
Perfection is not a state, it's a pursuit. This great society, it doesn't exist. It's very much a work in progress.
Then what does that make me?
Just another piece of the foundation. Did you never dream of being a part of something greater? Doing something better?
No.
So you would have been content just drifting aimlessly through
I was not
life?
drifting.
Weren't you?
No.
So this was all a charted course with a destination?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
To where exactly?
I don't know. Man, somewhere better, obviously.
Without effort, without discipline. Really?
It just needed more time.
And those who you share this world with would argue that you've had enough.
Because no one has to see it. Where's the fucking morality in this?
This is not about morals, this is about function.
You tell me I gotta die and walk through that door and you tell me it's not about morality?
Yes.
Bull fucking shit. This is judgment. This is persecution. And it's no different than any crusade or inquisitions. And you sit there and you hide behind those fucking arcane laws and then you just execute people who don't fit into your precious little Eden and you walk them through that fucking door. Yeah, but you know what you are? You're nothing more than the brainwashed pawn of the establishment.
Hey, with respect,
With
Eleanor.
respect, what fucking respect do you deserve? How many people have you walked through that door?
You think you're some kind of saint, don't you? You're doing this awful work and you're convincing people that they have to die for a reason. Are you proud of yourself? When you go to bed at night, do you sleep soundly?
Like a child. It's okay, I assure you. Consider it a goodwill offering. I can assure you that I don't want this to be contentious. However the die is cast, I want your last day here to be as comfortable as possible. I know we can continue with some civility.
Am I the worst?
Excuse me?
Am I the most difficult person you have had to go through this with?
No,
You're lying.
I'm not.
I hit you.
You did?
I'm not the first one.
You're not the first person to be confrontational, no.
Then who was the worst?
I don't think that's an appropriate line of questioning.
I don't need details. I just want to know his name.
I don't see the point.
You said you didn't want this to be contentious.
Yes?
Then share something. Who was the worst you had to deal with?
It was probably my first.
And what was so bad about it?
Everything. I was nervous and awkward.
And that's changed.
There's a degree of nervousness every time. But the first time, I could barely get out the words. So cold and sterile, so anxiety-ridden, I couldn't even hear the words that were coming out of his mouth. I was just checking off a list like some type of bureaucratic jerk.
I was supposed to know.
Yes.
You take pride in your work, don't you?
It's the second time you asked me that.
Because you keep avoiding the question.
I don't know, I guess. Doesn't everybody?
No. They don't. I'm sure they end up in this fucking chair.
When you're charged with being the last human contact someone's ever going to have, I think you take it pretty seriously, too.
I never thought I would be having this conversation, so I never really thought about that.
No one ever does.
So this is a typical encounter for you?
You're very hung up on the idea of normalcy.
No. I'm just curious about all of this shit.
Why?
Maybe because, I don't know, this is truly awful, and the fact that you keep saying this happens so often is something I'm having trouble reconciling.
Will understanding it make it easier for you?
I think it would.
Go ahead. Ask away.
Okay. How long have you been doing this for?
12 years.
Is that a career choice? Did you go to school for that? Or, I mean, like, how does someone end up in a line of work like this?
There's a process. Rigorous psychological and behavioral tests. Most applicants have a degree in psychology or psychiatry.
I'm assuming there are some educational requirements.
Of course.
So you're a doctor.
I am.
Of what?
Technically, I have 2 degrees. I'm a doctor of medicine and a doctor of osteopathy.
And why 2 degrees?
Because that is the requirements for being a medical examiner.
A medical examiner.
Yes.
Like the people who work at the morgue, examining dead people.
Yep.
I always wonder what kind of people chose that line of work. I guess I know now.
The kind of people who are always searching for answers.
You never found it difficult.
No.
You're never bothered by the dead.
The dead are remarkably easy to work with. I find much more difficulties with the living.
Did you enjoy it?
Found it challenging.
Is that what motivates you? The challenge.
Sense of duty is what motivates me.
And here, this conversation, carrying out this sentence with me, is that you fulfilling your societal obligation, or?
I'm not carrying out a sentence. I am assisting you. I am assisting you with your transition.
I know, I get it. You're not complicit because you're not the one pulling the trigger. It's fine.
There are no triggers, no ropes.
This
gallows, no guillotines or electric chairs.
Man, don't talk down
There's
to
no
me.
one being burned at the stake. And this isn't a stage. These dramatic flourishes are doing nothing to help us towards completion.
Of course, because that's what this is for you. It's just a job. It's just a fucking job. You're gonna file the paperwork, put it away, punch the clock, and then make sure that the trains run on time. You don't care for the reference
I don't.
because of its honesty.
For its lack of originality. The disenfranchised. You always revert back to the venomous terms. You talk of fascism and despotic rules as if you have any frame of reference. But you don't know that world. They're just words on a page. You've never had to live that way, where people are taken at night and never seen again. Women are beaten, children go hungry, where you live in the constant fear that at any moment everything can be taken from you. Your livelihood, your family, and even your life. There are no protections, there's no processes. You've never had to live that way, Eleanor. You were free.
You don't know that.
You were free, Eleanor, free to live your life. And you had chances, multiple chances. And you could never make it right. But you want to refer to death camps and genocide as if there's any frame of reference.
You expect me to feel bad for your bruised ego?
I don't. As I've told you many times, this is not about me, this is about you.
No. This is about way more than me, and you know it.
Of course it is. Because it has to be, right? It can't be about just one simple, flawed individual. There has to be some greater systemic failure. The point is, Eleanor, the system isn't flawed. You are. And that is the hardest thing to accept. Everyone who has ever sat in that chair finds it difficult to accept that. But even in our failings, we can demonstrate value.
What value do I have left?
Some people live by example. Others die to provide it.
What happens if I don't? You said it was important for me to walk through the door. What if I...
It's important to understand why you have to.
But it's my choice.
It is absolutely your choice.
Then what happens if I say no? You said it was my choice, so you need to give me all the available information so I can make a decision.
You asked me what would happen if you choose not to walk through that door.
Yes.
The other options are less pleasant.
Less pleasant than this.
Not for you, but for those you leave behind. Your family, your loved ones, your sister.
You're trying to frighten me.
No, I am trying to be honest with you.
Unpleasant, like...
They'll be sanctioned, blacklisted. Opportunity for advancement will be limited. The punishment for those who are unproductive, it's harsh. But for those who continue to fight, who refuse to comply, there must be a level of severity that makes it unthinkable.
So you'd punish my sister and her children?
No, Eleanor. You would. By choosing resistance, by saying no to this one final opportunity to serve your society.
This is barbarism. You talk about civility, yet you're punishing innocent people to strong-arm the condemned into compliance since there's nothing civilized about this.
I don't believe in every tactic or technique, but they exist for a reason.
Then how many opt out?
Not very many. Most of whom are too angry to realize the ramification of their actions, too bitter to realize that even in death, their actions, they affect other people.
So much effort trying to educate the damned for a fleeting moment of enlightenment.
Would you prefer a world but made no effort at all?
I'd prefer a world where people who made mistakes were not judged by a death sentence and offered the illusion of a choice.
I assure you that your choice is very real.
Yes. But both end up with me being killed.
Right? But if you choose to walk through that door, you do it on your own free will, to serve a purpose, to serve your fellow man. Or you can choose the alternative.
Am I boring you?
No.
Then do your fucking job and tell me what happens if I don't walk through
Other
that door.
arrangements are made.
What kind of arrangements?
Unpleasant ones. They lack the civility and dignity of these proceedings.
They?
Excuse me?
You said they. Don't you mean we? You see yourself as being different from them, don't you? I thought this was one big collective society you were representing.
I misspoke.
I don't think you did. You have doubts, don't you? You see it as a weakness, don't you?
You find that amusing?
It's remarkably human. It's something I was starting to wonder if you were capable of. But how could you not
Not what?
have doubts?
I never said I did.
You never said you didn't. I can't imagine your job sitting here in this chair, having the same conversation 100 times, 1,000 times, no matter how many times you've done this before. Sending people off to die. How could you not have doubts? I can't imagine what kind of damage that must have on your soul. How hard that must be for you.
Would it be easier for you if I did have doubts?
Yes. It would. Knowing that this whole process is more than rank and file, and that the other person sitting in front of me is struggling with the decisions and questioning whether or not it's the right thing to do. Yes. That would mean everything.
His hands trembled the entire time.
Who's?
Arnold Voss. It's the name of the first man I had to carry out his sentence for. I was young, inexperienced, nervous. I lacked the confidence to carry out my responsibilities with any degree of civility. And Arnold, he was terrified. Couldn't look in his eyes because there was so much pain, so much fear. So I kept my focus on his hands. They couldn't stop trembling. Even when he tried to drum up all the courage to walk through that door, he couldn't stop trembling. I remember that morning, the last thing he said before he walked out the door as he was fighting back tears, trying to steady his quivering lip, he said, "It's hard to accept that this world no longer needs you." I think about those words every day. So doubt is something that I have become
Comfortable?
accustomed. You asked if this was difficult for me. if I struggled with my role in this society.
Yes.
That chair you're in, it's never empty. It is always occupied by the ghosts of every soul who has ever passed through here. And when I close my eyes, all I see are these four walls. I know every imperfection in the concrete. I know every rivet in these beams. I know every creak that chair makes. The front two legs are more worn than the back because in an aggressive state, people tend to lean forward and not back. You, room of boss, this room, just a part of your life. But for me, this is my penance, my prison. It is impossible for me to sit in either one of these chairs and not have doubts. Never stop asking questions, never stop challenging convention.
But you're still here.
Because those doubts, those questions, the answers still lead me back here, to this room. And they still require you to walk through that door on your own volition.
I don't want to die.
I know you don't.
I'm scared.
I know. Of course you are.
No matter what I choose, you're the last person I'm gonna talk to. You wanted to tell me your name.
It's Andrew. My name is Andrew.
Andrew. I love Andrew. What do you think happens after?
I don't know. Thought about it. My position, it's hard not to.
Do you believe in God?
No, not in any traditional sense. Judging from your answers earlier today, you don't.
No. Not since I was a kid. Before my parents died.
But before then,
Sure. You know, when you're a kid, you're just young and stupid. You believe whatever you're told. When you're young, there's still hope.
hope still exists.
It does. Maybe for you. Maybe for them. But not for me.
But it does exist. For those of us who wish to obey the law, it exists.
For those who accept to live in this false paradise.
It's the system that's failed.
Yeah,
Because you couldn't work with it.
because it's rigged. What would happen if we all complied? If everybody lived by your laws?
Our loss.
No. Your laws. If everybody obeyed the law, then we would have nobody to punish, you know? You'd have no one to make an example of me. What would happen then? We would all come grinding to a halt.
Would you prefer that if it all fell apart?
Yes.
No, thank you. I've lost my appetite.